Hello my favourite people out there, how are you all doing? I hope you're good. Your girl has been fine. I do miss you guys though, because it's been a while since I posted anything, hasn't it? I'm just a little bit under the weather, as you can see. My voice just sounds horrible, and I've really been under the weather. I've got a few blisters on my mouth because the weather is so dry. But I hope you guys are doing well. So today I'm going to, obviously you can read from the title that we're going to talk about the sickness leave, the NHS sickness leave. And I'm sure this is something that if you're not completely new with the NHS, you've had to experience it, you've had to explain it to somebody, you've had to read about yourself. But if you're new and this is quite a new topic for you, then you really need to understand, because as you work and as you expend your energy at your work, expend mental effort at your work, you're going to get exhausted. You might fall ill at some point. So it really helps to sort of know the policy with regards to sickness in your NHS or in your facility. And I talk most about the NHS because I currently work at an NHS. Unfortunately, I don't know how care homes work. I'm sure the process might be similar, but because I've got more experience in the NHS, this is going to be more about people who work in the NHS. So I just want to put that out there. Right, so I think it's high time we get into the video. So obviously I don't need to define sickness to you guys, and it is something that's quite subjective, because what I will consider as an ailment, you might not consider as an ailment, and vice versa. Sickness leave or absence is when you have to go off work. You cannot attend your duties at work because you're physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually unwell, in whichever way that really affects you. And you need to really take that break for you to recover. According to my research, most of which have been from asking senior colleagues and from doing some online searches as well, I found out that this doesn't apply to you if you're in your probationary period. So with most jobs, your contract will tell you how much probationary period you've got, and with a lot of jobs it's mostly 6 months. It's different from like supernumerary, because supernumerary is like the grace period that you've got to learn as much as you can about your role before you start. So that's quite different. And with my role, when I started, I had a 2 weeks supernumerary. So you've got 2 weeks to shadow senior colleagues or even colleagues, just to learn from them. And but then the probationary period is more extended, and that's like just a period that your managers are watching you, sort of trying to assess you, and you're trying to also test and see if this is a suitable role for you. So within that period, this policy doesn't apply. So you may need to contact your manager or your HR just to speak to them about leave, sickness leave in this case. But for those of us that have stayed with our trusts for an extended period, even if it's 0 contract hours as bank, I'm sure there's a policy about that, and you need to contact your manager or your HR, because to be honest, some things do change and trusts are different. Every trust sort of does things in a different way. But this information is valid for most of us that are full-time members. Now let's delve into how you go about reporting your sickness. So according to the NHS policy, if you're unwell and you are due to attend work, let's say a night shift or a day shift, you are obliged to inform your team lead or your manager or the nurse in charge about it at least an hour before reporting time. This is just to help them to make arrangements for other people to cover while you're away. And you need to, it doesn't mean you have to wait until an hour before, because sometimes they need more than an hour to get somebody to replace you, to get somebody to stand in for you. So as much as you can, tell your team as early as you can. But unfortunately, you might begin to feel unwell about an hour to work, and then you have to inform them. I mean, if you do begin to feel unwell and then it's past an hour, you're obliged to tell them as soon as you're unwell, especially if it's like within that 1 hour, just so that they can sort it out, and then your being away doesn't affect the whole team drastically. And when you do ring somebody, I mean, the preferred medium is to ring, don't text. I mean, you can text, but you know, sometimes text messages have to do with internet and network, so you don't know if the text message has gone through, or if it's on an email or WhatsApp message. You're not sure if it's really gone through or not. But if you take the phone and you ring them and you speak to them on the phone, then you're sure that your message is delivered in the way that it's supposed to be delivered. So ideally, you have to ring your line manager, your team lead, and tell them. If not, you can text them, but make sure they've received that message. It is really it's really unprofessional to ask somebody else to do it for you, to send a text or an email on your behalf, unless of course you're really in a situation where that has to be done, or you've written some sort of agreement with your team lead that if you're unwell, this is the sort of medium that you're supposed to go through. Otherwise, kindly take your phone and ring them, tell them what happened, because they have to put that on the calendar or log it into your, you know, your roster, and they have to put the category of illness that you're going away for. So you can not to tell them details, but just something brief about what's happening with you, and then tell them how long you think you're going to be off for. And if it's sort of a role where you've got duties assigned to you that need to be reassigned to somebody else, you need to tell the team so that they can sort of delegate it to somebody else. So these are just a few things to let your team know when you're unwell. Now, a situation may happen where you feel unwell while you're working. In that case, you need to let your team lead know, and you need to let them know when you're leaving and what time, you know, exactly the time you're leaving, because they have to log that as well. And it really helps to tell somebody, because just for your team to know that you haven't absconded, you know, because it's going to be very frustrating to be called and asked, where are you? And then, you know, for them to just know that you're unwell and you went to. So just make sure you've told somebody about it if you're leaving site. And while you're at home or in hospital or wherever you are, while you're on sick leave, make sure you're keeping in touch with your manager. Let them know every day how you're doing and how long you think you're going to stay. With the NHS, you are able to self-certify for a week. I'm sure a lot of people know about this, but just to put it out there, you're allowed to self-certify for a week, but after that you need a doctor's sick certificate for you to continue on that sort of sickness leave. Otherwise, you may have to report to work. So if it's that serious, that's causing you to stay at home more than 7 days, just make sure you've got a physician, a qualified physician, to put that in writing. Just get a note for you, so that you can just as evidence that you're not faking it, that you're really unwell and you really need to stay on for that long. Now, another reason why it's good to keep in touch is if your kind of sickness demands occupational health involvement, then they can deal with that early on, rather than wait until you're nearly returning to sort that out, because it might be too late and it might just mess up the whole return. So it's good to let your manager know how things are. Sometimes you just need some adjustments to be done at your workplace to make sure you're not getting sick again. So it's just really helpful to keep in touch with your team lead and let them know how they can support you on your return to work. Now, when you're well enough to go back to work, obviously, if you're keeping in touch with your manager, they know that you're returning on this date. And some managers will ask to have a meeting with you, just ask you how you're doing, and if there's anything that you need done to sort of help you settling. And then if there's anything information that you need to know, your manager can use that opportunity to let you know as well. Now, I did mention absence triggers. What I meant was, if you're off sick leave for a particular period, or if it follows a particular kind of pattern, you meet a trigger. So I think there's 3 criteria to meet the absence trigger, which will probably require a formal meeting or an informal meeting, depending on the nature of the whole thing. So if you've had 3 different episodes of sick leaves in a rolling 12-month period. 2, if you've had more than 8 days or 8 days or more of sickness leave in a rolling 12-month period. And the third thing is, if there's suspicion that your leave or your sickness leaves follow a particular kind of pattern which is problematic. Now, if it's an informal meeting, it will probably be between your manager and yourself. It might be there and then, or your manager might want to schedule a time or a date for you to meet and then discuss what's going on. Because if you've been unwell for three different periods within a rolling 12 months, then it looks like the cause of the sickness is repetitive, or there's some things that are triggering your illness that may have to be addressed. So it's just a meeting to sort of get to the bottom of your illnesses, not something to make you uncomfortable or unnerve you. So it's just a place or an opportunity for you to really speak to your manager, tell them that, or maybe that this thing that's happening has been triggering, or these are the kind of situations that make me unwell, or this is the reason why I've been unwell so many times. It's just to provide clarity, because your manager is on the outside, doesn't really know what's going on with you, but perceiving, just thinking that this might be the problem. So you have to sort of break it down to your manager and help them to understand what's going on with you. Now, if it's a formal meeting, then most of the time they will involve the HR and maybe occupational health as well, especially if you've already dealt with them and this situation is still persistent, you're still being sick continuously, or your sickness is extending. You may have a formal meeting, and I think at these meetings you're allowed to bring an advocate. So that might be somebody in your union that might just back you or listen and take notes. Just make sure you have that backup in case things escalate. Now, if you've had a formal meeting, usually there is one of three responses that you might get. So you might leave the meeting without any further action. Number two, you might leave the meeting with steps or things or requirements that you're supposed to follow, things you're supposed to do, or an agreement between yourself and your manager as things that are supposed to happen just to prevent further occurrences of the absences. And the third option is you might get a warning. So you would get a first warning, which is going to be live on your record for 52 weeks. If this is not the first time that you've had the warning, then you would have a final written warning, which will also be live on your records for 52 weeks. One other action that might happen is you might get dismissed. That is why it's very important to get somebody from your union or somebody that has sort of knowledge about the laws and legal terms to be there with you, just so that if things are not being done the right way, they can step in for you. Because you might not know a lot about legal stuff and you don't know what to say and what not to say. It really does help to get somebody from your union to step in and to go as an advocate for you. Now, in the situation where you've had a really long-term absence, which is sickness, which is extending over a rolling 4-week period, your manager will most likely have a meeting with you, discuss what's going on, how long you're expected to stay at home, and this might trigger a formal meeting where they bring all the stakeholders. And if they think that your sickness is going to continue despite interventions, because they will discuss ways that they can help for you to come back earlier. They might involve the occupational health team. But if they feel like it's not going to help, you're still going to stay at home for an extended period of time, then they might dismiss you on grounds of not being fit to work. But of course, you can appeal this decision, the manager and the stakeholders in that facility that will hold that meeting with you. But they will give you information about if you want to appeal, how you can go about it. And sometimes the appeal comes back and then you win. Because they might not have considered a few things. So you just need to, if you think that is an unfair decision for you to be dismissed on grounds of your health, you can definitely appeal that and get things redone and rechecked. What I'm going to say next, I just read it off the internet. I don't know how true that is, but you might want to check that with your facility first. But if you're on holiday and you become severely ill, so much so that if you were not on holiday, you wouldn't be able to attend work, you were allowed to contact your manager to get the holiday cancelled, and then you can get those days as sick leave so that you can take the holiday another time. Or if you have a pre-booked holiday but then you get sick in that period, so much so that you're not fit enough, if you weren't on your holiday, you wouldn't be fit enough to go to work anyways, then you're allowed to cancel the pre-booked holiday and then take it another time, so that you can so that you don't have to spend your holidays being sick. So you can enjoy your sick leave and then enjoy your holiday when the time is right for you to go. So that's something that you might want to check with your manager as well, just because I don't know how different trusts might work with this, because there might be a lot of terms and conditions with things like this, but it just helps for you to know about it, and then you can ask. I would like to add a few things, then end. I have also read about suspension on medical grounds. If you don't go on sick leave, but then your manager or your lead or your hospital or wherever you're working, they feel like you're not fit enough to work, but you're pushing yourself to do it, they can suspend you on grounds of medical reasons, feeling that you're not fit enough to work, and then get you to go for a checkup or a medical assessment just to confirm that you are really fit to work. So your company has the right to offer you sort of forced sickness leave, just so they can make sure that you're fit enough to work. Now guys, I would like to end here. I know there are a few things that I didn't go into, stuff about pregnancy related sickness that I wanted to discuss, but I feel like it will make the video too long, so I'll make a separate video about pregnancy related sickness. But until then, just stay cool and try as much as possible to enjoy life. Make lemonade out of the lemons that life throws at you, and I will see you again next time. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. All right, I'll be looking forward to my subscription. I'm still in the 40s. We really need to get to the 100s. At least if we can get there before the end of the year, that would be great. So kindly smash that subscribe button. It really goes a long way to help me and other people as well to find these videos. I'll see you guys again next time. Bye bye.